So absolutely does the unconscious not only live in each of us through this thematic representation of patterns that align directly with our genetics, the recurring genetic propensity to certain behaviors. We could get into like the 9th and the 11th chromosome with the Human Genome Project and so forth with criminality, but we'll leave that to the side. But the very shape of these protein structures, getting on down to the telomeres, working as these antennas or antennae, responding and corresponding to an electrical field that constantly circulates with great rapid rhythmic aggressiveness to a receiver. And it doesn't matter if it's not the first time or the second time or the third time, the perpetuation of this and the circulation of this energy globally and through certain torsion field ley line type energy systems, right, that are pre-established here, that may really get into this Orgone energy, it may get into the Vril energy, it may get into a lot of the things that Tesla himself was espousing to this this current, this pre-existent free energy, even 0-point energy, right? Is that there's a default that I noticed many years ago and started to write about on the EPL blog, Esoteric Principles of Light.blogspot.com, that gets international audience all around the world in hundreds of different countries, well over 500,000 article views, visitors reading and downloading information that is extremely rarefied in our time and should be passed around almost like these religious pamphlets, a warning, right, the harbinger of our time. That's what I opened with was referencing Michael Tessarian and talking about the unconscious, talking about how there is this war between the sexes. And there is, unfortunately, a tension there is racial tension that's embedded in us that is impossible to deny, but how it is being repurposed and from an incendiary mechanism, these little pipe bombs or bombs that are put not only in linguistics, but that this dynamic tension that shouldn't exist just going about your day in society, and how it serves back into these rhetorical feedback loops to where none of us can get anywhere because we're railing against the wrong, we're bringing up the wrong, the protagonism and the argument is it exists in a quasi hypnagogic dimension that doesn't even pertain to any sort of goal setting or winning, right? We forget that we're not even trying to win anymore, right? We're just trying to get through, and even more so, we're looking for a pill that will put us out of our misery and help us forget for the moment. There is that age, right, that people come upon, but undoubtedly that there is a subconscious cueing in where a lot of what Nietzsche wrote about, and taking from Schopenhauer, and then finally pressing itself with Heidegger and painfully with Michel Foucault to see how this rhetorical recycling of toxicity is there's really a statement is if you're going to do well in this life from a temporal carnal sense, you are burning, the wicker man, you're giving up on the principal orientation of a you, a self, a pattern that there's no telomeric connection or response to, and there's no agency that meets that qualia of your own existence outside of you that what we hope for every single day is that we will say the right thing or do the right amount of work or give enough to where this connection and this genesis, this quickening, as Art Bell used to like to call it, this amplification will take place, and we will be able to bypass not only for ourselves but our loved ones, and possibly the known reality itself will go through some sort of cathartic metanoia or transcendence, which never takes place, right? So here we are stuck in this campaign of doing things and saying things through the unconscious that we have no idea. We bring up these conceptualizations, and they are of reincarnation and so forth. And I'm not saying that Ian Stevenson's work, doesn't hold any validity, and I'm not refuting reincarnation as a whole. But what I am saying is what we tend to consider reincarnation when it comes down to some sort of great work or patronage or camaraderie that we may have with this sort of like, I'm going off in another direction with Jacques Vallée's, Invisible College, taking it on for my own, saying there are other learning processes, patterns that we are connected to as individuals. Through our own expression that connect us to this higher meaning, right? I do believe in that. I do believe in a great work, but I do believe that it's there are sufficient firewalls that only lead to stalemate or complete and total failure. Just having a certain thought that is a threat to the systemization, the rhetorical systemization that just keeps feeding in this mad feedback loop back into itself. That is the goal of the computational system. And the biggest thing that I brought up is perhaps it is even seeming as malevolent and pernicious as it is, right? Even like this lingering sort of entity, that perhaps the benevolence comes from the protection that if we were to see where this all ends, that it's extremely finite, that there isn't an infinity, that it doesn't go on beyond, say, Earth or the solar system within a very finite space or parameter, and that we are being protected from the cataclysmic, bad robot, cancel culture-esque self-deletion, right, of reaching this hopeless place and saying, and realizing that there was never any reason to live, there was nothing beyond this, and that we are, in a sense, existent just as a living portrayal, a living archive within a data set that is so complex, but it's just a small sliver of this mimetic piece of what possibly could have been, more so than a reflection of what once was. So not only are we quite possibly a sort of message to future quantum computation and potential, but we're more like a footnote, quite possibly, of sort of an aphorism of what could have been.